The nursing home trap. How they tried to throw me away. The leather seat beneath me felt cold, even though the afternoon sun blazed through the windshield. I stared at Daniel's hands gripping the steering wheel, knuckles white, jaw clenched tight. Something wasn't right. We'd been driving for 40 minutes, and he hadn't said a single word. Where are we going? I asked again, my voice smaller than I wanted it to be. Evelyn, my mother-in-law, turned from the passenger seat with that tight smile she always wore when she was planning something. You'll see, dear. Just trust us, trust them. The words felt like sandpaper in my ears. The car pulled into a parking lot I didn't recognize. A long, gray building stretched before us, windows lined up like prison bars. My stomach twisted. Daniel finally spoke. Come on, Mara. Let's go inside. Inside where? I climbed out slowly, my legs shaking. Daniel, what is this place? Evelyn was already at my side, her thin fingers wrapping around my elbow like claws. She steered me toward the entrance, where a sign read, Riverside Extended Care Facility, a nursing home. My heart stopped. No, I'm not. Just come inside, Evelyn snapped, her voice suddenly sharp. Don't make a scene. The lobby smelled like disinfectant and boiled vegetables. A woman in scrubs looked up from behind a desk, her smile too bright, too rehearsed. Evelyn pushed a clipboard into my hands. Sign it, she commanded. My eyes blurred as I read the words at the top. Nursing home admission consent. The room tilted. My breath caught in my throat. What is this? It's for your own good, Daniel mumbled, still refusing to meet my eyes. I stumbled backward, but two nurses appeared from nowhere, blocking the doorway. Their faces were blank, professional. The administrator stepped out from a side office, her heels clicking on the linoleum. She looked directly at me with cold, practiced sympathy. Mrs. Winters, she said smoothly. We've been expecting you. There's been a mistake, I said, my voice cracking. I don't need to be here. Evelyn's laugh was sharp and cruel. Don't be ridiculous, Mara. You can barely take care of yourself. That's not true. I turned to Daniel, desperate. Tell them I'm fine. But Daniel just stared at the floor, his face pale and sweaty. The administrator gestured toward a hallway. Let's get you settled, Mrs. Winters. We have a lovely room prepared. I'm not signing anything, I said, dropping the clipboard. It clattered against the floor. Evelyn's face turned red. She's mentally unstable, she announced loudly to everyone in the lobby. She's been having episodes, forgetting things. She's a danger to herself. That's a lie. I shouted, but my voice sounded hysterical even to my own ears. The staff exchanged knowing glances. They'd heard this before. They believed her. One of the nurses gently took my arm. It's okay, sweetheart. Let's just go have a look at your room. Nothing permanent. I don't want a room. I tried to pull away, but her grip was surprisingly strong. The administrator produced another form from her folder. She handed it to Evelyn with a pen. The temporary guardianship authorization. As we discussed, Evelyn signed it without hesitation, her signature flowing across the page in bold strokes. What does that mean? I asked, panic rising in my chest. Daniel, what does that mean? But Daniel had already turned away, walking back toward the entrance. Daniel, I screamed. Don't leave me here. He paused at the door, his shoulders shaking, but he didn't turn around. Then he was gone. The nurses began guiding me down the hallway. I twisted my head back toward the lobby and saw Evelyn leaning close to the administrator, her whisper carried. The house will be sold by Friday. They called it a temporary evaluation room, but it was a cell. White walls, a narrow bed, a small window with bars. The door locked from the outside. I sat on the edge of the bed, my whole body trembling. This couldn't be happening. I was 62 years old, healthy, sharp. I paid my bills on time. I volunteered at the library. I had friends. How did I end up here? The hours crawled by. Nobody came. I tried the door handle every few minutes, but it never budged. Finally, after dark, the lock clicked. A woman in blue scrubs stepped inside carrying a meal tray. Her name tag read Rhea. I'm not hungry, I said, my voice hoarse from crying. Rhea closed the door softly behind her. She glanced at the small camera in the corner, then moved to block its view with her body. I overheard everything in the lobby. She whispered quickly. This is wrong. You know that, right? I stared at her, afraid to hope. You believe me? Your mother-in-law has been coming here for months, Rhea said quietly. Setting things up, making arrangements, talking to the administrator about your condition. I don't have a condition. I know, Rhea's eyes were fierce. But they're building a case. They want you declared permanently incompetent. The word hit me like a slap. Incompetent, why? I whispered. Why would they do this? Rhea shook her head. I don't know yet. But whatever the reason, it's not about your health. She moved toward the door, then paused. From her pocket, she pulled out a thin folder and slid it under the blanket on my bed. You need to see this before they come back, she whispered. Hide it. Then she was gone, the lock clicking behind her. My hands shook as I pulled out the folder. I opened the folder with trembling fingers. Inside were photocopied documents, page after page of lies. Patient exhibits signs of cognitive decline. Memory lapses increasing in frequency. I'd never seen this doctor. Never had an appointment. Multiple incidents of wandering. Found confused in parking lot on 3 separate occasions. I hadn't wandered anywhere. I knew exactly where I was every single day. Patient refuses to maintain personal hygiene. Requires assistance with basic daily tasks. Tears blurred my vision. Every word was a knife, but the worst part was seeing my signature at the bottom of several forms. Authorization for treatment, consent for evaluation, acknowledgement of symptoms, except I'd never signed anything. The signature looked like mine, the loops and curves almost perfect. But the pressure was wrong, the slant slightly off. Someone had practiced copying my handwriting. My chest felt tight. I couldn't breathe. The final page was a psychiatric evaluation report dated 3 weeks ago. It described me as paranoid, delusional, unable to care for myself. Patient insists nothing is wrong. Lacks insight into condition. Recommendation. Full-time supervised care. No, I whispered. No, no, no. The door burst open. Evelyn stood in the doorway, her eyes immediately landing on the folder spread across my lap. Her face twisted with rage. Where did you get that? She hissed, striding across the room. I tried to gather the pages, but she was faster. She ripped the folder from my hands, papers scattering across the floor. You nosy little, she caught herself, glancing at the camera. Her expression shifted into false concern. Oh, Mara, you're confused again. These are confidential medical documents. They're fake, I said, my voice shaking. All of it. You forged everything. Evelyn's smile was ice. She knelt down, gathering the papers slowly, deliberately. When she looked up at me, her eyes were cold and empty. Who's going to believe you? She whispered. You're mentally incompetent, remember? It says so right here in your file. Evelyn stood slowly, clutching the folder to her chest like a shield. She moved to the door, checking that it was closed, then turned back to face me. You want to know the truth, Mara? Her voice was low and venomous. You've served your purpose. That's all. What purpose? I demanded, trying to keep my voice steady. I've been a good wife, a good daughter-in-law. What did I ever do to you? She laughed, a sound like breaking glass. It's not about what you did. It's about what you have. I don't have anything. You have a house, Evelyn said coldly. A house worth $500,000. And my son needs that money. The pieces clicked into place. Daniel's in debt. Daniel made some poor investments. Evelyn waved her hand dismissively. But that's not your concern anymore. The house is the only asset left, and we need it now. So you're just going to steal it? I stood up, anger replacing fear. You can't sell my house. It's in my name. Not if you're incompetent, Evelyn said sweetly. Once the court approves the guardianship petition, Daniel becomes your legal guardian. He can sell anything he wants, make any decision he wants, and you won't be able to stop him. My legs felt weak. I sat back down on the bed. How could you do this to me? How could I? Evelyn's voice rose. You've been a burden from the beginning. Do you know how much Daniel gave up for you? And now, when we finally need something from you, you want to be difficult? I'm a person, I whispered. Not an asset to be liquidated. Evelyn moved closer, her face inches from mine. Her breath smelled like coffee and mint. If you fight this, she said quietly, I'll make sure you never leave this place upright. I have friends here, staff who owe me favors. One call, and you'll be sedated, restrained, labeled violent. Your life will be over. She straightened up, smoothing her blouse. But if you cooperate, sign the papers, maybe you can have a nice room. Weekly visits. It doesn't have to be terrible. Get out, I said. Evelyn smiled. See you tomorrow, Mara. The evaluation is at 8. I didn't sleep. I couldn't. I kept replaying Evelyn's words, her threats, the cold calculation in her eyes. Around midnight, Ria slipped back into my room. She pressed a finger to her lips and pointed at the camera. She'd brought a small stepladder, climbed up, and adjusted the angle so it pointed at the wall. We have maybe 10 minutes, she whispered. Pulling something from her pocket. It was a small digital voice recorder, no bigger than a USB drive. What is that? I asked. Evidence. Ria pressed play. Evelyn's voice filled the tiny room, tinny but clear. Need the incompetency declared by Friday. The buyers already lined up. Can you expedite the psychiatric evaluation? The administrator's response. That's highly irregular, Miss Winters. These things take time. I'm paying you enough to make it irregular. Evelyn's voice was sharp. Just do your job. The report needs to say she's unfit. Period. Fine. But if this comes back on me, it won't. Who's going to believe her? The recording clicked off. I stared at Ria, hope flooding through me for the first time. Where did you get this? The staff break room, Ria said. Someone left their phone recording accidentally during a meeting. I found it this morning. This proves everything, I breathed. We can take this to the police. Not yet. Ria held up a hand. If we move too fast, they'll bury it. Evelyn has connections. We need more. There's an evaluation tomorrow, I said. Evelyn said, I know. Ria's face was grim. They're going to try to declare you incompetent. But if you can pass it cleanly, it'll buy us time. And if I can't, then they win. Ria adjusted the camera back into position. But I don't think that's going to happen. You're the sharpest patient I've met. Before she left, she squeezed my hand. Stay strong. The next morning, at exactly 8 o'clock, the administrator appeared with a man in a gray suit. He introduced himself as the facility psychologist, and Evelyn sat in the corner, watching me like a hawk. The psychologist, Dr. Warren, had kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. He sat across from me at a small table, a clipboard resting on his lap. I'm just going to ask you some questions. Mrs. Winters. Nothing to worry about, but Evelyn's presence in the corner made everything feel wrong, staged. What day is it today? He began. Thursday, October 17th. I kept my voice calm, clear. And who is the current president? I answered correctly. Then came questions about my address, my birthday, simple math problems. I solved each one without hesitation. Dr. Warren made notes. Can you tell me why you're here? I chose my words carefully. My husband and his mother brought me here yesterday against my will. They claim I'm incompetent, but I believe they're trying to steal my house. Evelyn gasped dramatically. You see? Paranoid delusions, Doctor. Warren held up a hand. Please, let her finish. They forged medical documents. I continued, keeping my eyes on the psychologist. Reports claiming I have cognitive problems that don't exist. Someone practiced copying my signature. If you compare the documents in my file to my actual handwriting, you'll see the differences, Doctor. Warren's eyebrows rose. That's a serious accusation. It's a serious situation. I leaned forward. I'm 62 years old. I volunteer at the public library twice a week. I manage my own finances. I cook, clean, drive. I'm completely independent. The only thing wrong with me is that I trusted the wrong people. She's lying. Evelyn stood up. She forgets things constantly. She left the stove on 3 times last month. I haven't used the stove unsupervised in months, I said calmly. Because Evelyn moved into our house 6 months ago and took over the kitchen. She said it was to help, but now I understand she was building a narrative. Dr. Warren studied me thoughtfully. You seem very articulate and aware. Because I am, I said simply. He asked more questions, testing memory, reasoning, judgment. I answered everything perfectly, even adding subtle observations about inconsistencies in my supposedly documented symptoms. If I wander confused, why are there no police reports? No concerned neighbor statements? No security footage from anywhere? Dr. Warren made another note. Good question. Evelyn's face was turning red. This is ridiculous. Just write the report, Mrs. Winters, the elder Mrs. Winters. I need to conduct this evaluation properly. Dr. Warren's tone had shifted, more formal now. Evelyn stood abruptly. Fine, do whatever you want. But this doesn't change anything. She stormed out, muttering under her breath. Plan B it is. The words sent ice down my spine. That night, I couldn't shake the dread that had settled over me. Plan B? What did that mean? I found out around midnight. Voices in the hallway woke me. Staff arguing in harsh whispers. I pressed my ear against the door. Can't just write that she became violent if she didn't. You want to tell Miss Winters that? She's paying for results. This is fraud. I could lose my license, and I could lose my job. Just write the incident report. Make it believable. My blood ran cold. They were going to create a false report claiming I'd attacked someone, that I was dangerous. It would override Dr. Warren's evaluation, give them exactly what they needed. I backed away from the door, my mind racing. I had to stay alert, couldn't let them catch me off guard. Around 2 in the morning, Rhea slipped in again. Her face was pale, frightened. They're planning something, she whispered urgently. Evelyn ordered a new psychiatric report. She told the administrator to document a violent episode. I heard, I said. They're going to stage something. You need to be ready. Don't react to anything. Stay calm no matter what happens. If you fight back, they'll use it against you. How do I prove it's staged? Rhea pulled out her phone. I'll try to record whatever happens. But Mara, this is getting dangerous. They're desperate. Before she could say more, footsteps echoed in the hall. Rhea's eyes went wide. She barely made it out the door before it opened again. A male nurse I'd never seen before stepped inside. He was large, muscular, with cold eyes. In his hand was a syringe. Time for your medication, he said flatly. I don't take any medication. I pressed myself against the far wall. He moved closer. Doctor's orders. This will help you sleep. What is it? Just a sedative. For your anxiety, but something was wrong. The way he held it, the way he wouldn't meet my eyes. I glanced at the syringe label. It was partially torn, unreadable. I don't consent, I said firmly. I want to speak to Dr. Warren. He's not here. The nurse grabbed my arm. I tried to pull away, but his grip was iron. He raised the syringe, and I opened my mouth to scream. Suddenly, the door burst open. Another staff member, a woman, rushed in. Stop. That's not her medication. The nurse froze. What? Check the label. That's for room 214, not 206. Chaos erupted. The male nurse looked down at the syringe, his face paling. The woman snatched it from his hand, examining it. This is a sedative meant for a patient twice her size. This could have. She stopped, looking at me, then at him. What were you doing? I was told. He backed away. They said room 206, who said? But he was already leaving, practically running down the hall. The woman turned to me, concerned. Are you all right? I couldn't speak. I just nodded. After she left, Rhea appeared in the doorway. Her face was grim. They're desperate now, she whispered. It's time to fight back. Rhea returned an hour later with a plan. I can get you into the staff office, she whispered. but we have to move fast. Early morning, during shift change. That's when there's the least supervision. What are we looking for? I asked. Everything. Emails between Evelyn and the administrator, financial documents, anything that proves this is a conspiracy. At 5 in the morning, Ria led me down a deserted hallway. The staff office was small and cluttered, 3 desks crammed with paperwork and computers. She logged into the administrator's computer using a password she'd memorized. How did you? She's careless, Ria said simply. Always leaves it on sticky notes. We worked quickly. I searched through email folders while Ria photographed documents with her phone. What we found made my stomach turn. An email chain between Evelyn and the administrator dated back 6 months. They'd been planning this for half a year. Winters, I need this done quietly and quickly. How soon can you admit her? Administrator, we'll need documented cause. Medical reports showing decline. Winters, can you provide those? Administrator, I can arrange evaluations that support your narrative. Cost is $15,000. My hands shook as I kept reading. There were financial documents showing the planned sale of my house, already in negotiation. A draft incompetency petition written by Evelyn's lawyer. Even a list of approved staff members who would testify about my supposed symptoms. This is everything we need, Ria breathed. Downloading files onto a USB drive, I found more emails. These between Evelyn and Daniel. Daniel, I don't know if I can do this to her. Mom, Evelyn, don't be weak. She's served her purpose. The house is worth more than she is, Daniel. But she's my wife, Evelyn, and she'll be taken care of. Just not by us. Tears burned my eyes. He'd known. He'd been part of this from the beginning. Almost done, Ria muttered, clicking through folders. I'm sending everything to my personal email. Just in case. The door opened. The administrator stood there, her face a mask of fury. What are you doing in my office? Ria grabbed the USB drive and shoved it into her pocket. Leave, she hissed at me. Now, I ran. Behind me, I heard the administrator shouting, Ria's voice rising in response. I made it back to my room just as other staff members rushed past. 20 agonizing minutes later, Ria appeared at my door. Her face was flushed, her eyes bright with adrenaline. Did they fire you? I asked. Probably. She grinned fiercely. But I got everything. I sent it to a lawyer friend of mine. She specializes in elder abuse cases. Ria, you didn't have to. Yes, I did. She squeezed my hand. Nobody deserves this. And you're going to fight, right? Yes, I whispered. I'm going to fight. Footsteps echoed in the hallway. Heavy, angry footsteps. They know something's wrong, Ria said quietly. Then she leaned close. Daniel's here. He's demanding to see you. My heart hammered. Why? I don't know. But be careful. Daniel was waiting in a small conference room. He looked terrible, unshaven, dark circles under his eyes, his shirt wrinkled. When I entered, he jumped to his feet. Mara, thank God. We need to talk. I stayed near the door. About what? About how you tried to throw me away like garbage. It wasn't supposed to be like this. He ran his hands through his hair. You have to understand, I was desperate. The debts, the pressure from my mother, so you decided to steal my house and lock me up. I didn't want to. His voice cracked. But what choice did I have? Everything was falling apart. You had a choice, I said coldly. You could have talked to me. We could have sold the house together, downsized, worked through it like partners. My mother said you'd never agree. Your mother lied. I stepped closer. She's been lying this whole time. About my health, about my competence, about everything. And you believed her over me. Daniel collapsed into a chair, his face in his hands. I know, okay? I've been an idiot. A coward. Yes, you have, but I can fix this. He looked up, desperate. I'll tell them it was all a mistake. I'll withdraw the petition. We can go home. Forget any of this happened. I studied my husband's face, this man I'd spent 40 years with. I saw weakness there, and selfishness, and fear. But no real remorse. It's too late for that, I said quietly. What do you mean? I mean, I know everything. The forged documents, the bribes, the plans to sell the house, everything. His face went white. How does it matter? The point is, this isn't just going away. You committed fraud, Daniel. So did your mother. So did this facility. You can't prove anything, he said, but his voice was uncertain. Can't I? I pulled out my phone. Ria had returned it that morning. I have recordings, emails, financial documents, everything. Daniel stood abruptly. You're bluffing, am I? I met his eyes steadily. There's a lawyer reviewing everything right now. By tomorrow, the police will be involved. Mara, please. He reached for me, but I stepped back. Don't do this. Think about what this will do to our family. Our family? I laughed bitterly. You destroyed our family when you decided I was worth less than a house. I'll lose everything. Good, I said simply. Daniel's face twisted with anger. You ruined everything. We had a plan, a clean way out, and you had to be difficult. You had to fight back. Yes, I said. I did. He lunged toward me, shouting, but I was already moving toward the door. Staff members appeared, restraining him as he yelled threats and accusations, and through the window, I saw flashing lights, blue and red, painting the walls, police sirens. Ria appeared at my shoulder, smiling grimly. They're here, she whispered. The next hour passed in a blur of uniforms and questions. Police officers filled the hallways, their radios crackling. Investigators wearing badges and serious expressions examined documents in the administrator's office. I sat in the lobby, wrapped in a blanket someone had given me, and watched it all unfold. The administrator was let out first, her hands cuffed behind her back. She kept her eyes straight ahead, refusing to look at anyone. Then came several staff members, including the male nurse who'd tried to inject me. His face was pale, terrified. And finally Evelyn. She saw me sitting there and stopped dead. Her mouth opened, closed. For the first time since I'd known her, she looked afraid. You, she hissed. You couldn't just cooperate, could you? You had to ruin everything. A detective stepped between us. Miss Winters, you need to come with us. This is absurd. Evelyn's voice rose to a shriek. She's mentally incompetent. She can't be trusted. Check her file, check the reports. We did, the detective said calmly. And we've also checked the metadata on those documents. Interesting how many were created recently and backdated. Evelyn's face drained of color. You have the right to remain silent, the detective began. Evelyn started screaming. A high-pitched wail of fury and denial. It took 2 officers to escort her out, her voice echoing through the building even after the doors closed behind her. Daniel was brought out last. He wouldn't look at me. His shoulders shook as they read him his rights. When they let him past, he whispered, I'm sorry. I said nothing. A different detective, a woman with gray hair and kind eyes, sat down next to me. Mrs. Winters, I'm Detective Alvarez. Are you all right? I think so, I said. My voice sounded far away. We're going to need your full statement. Everything that happened from the beginning. Can you do that? I nodded. Yes, but first, there is someone I need to thank. Ria stood near the nurse's station, looking exhausted but triumphant. When she saw me looking, she smiled. She saved my life. I told the detective. We'll need her statement too, Detective Alvarez said. She's quite a hero. Over the next several hours, I told them everything. The deception, the forged documents, the threats, the staged incidents. They recorded every word, took copies of all the evidence Ria and I had gathered. As the sun set, Detective Alvarez closed her notebook. Mrs. Winters, I want you to know this case is bigger than just you. This facility has been under investigation for months. We've received multiple complaints about similar situations. Your testimony, your evidence, it's going to help us shut this whole operation down. There are others? I asked, horrified. At least 6 other cases we know of. Elderly people declared incompetent, their assets seized, their families complicit. It's a pattern, My stomach churned. How could they do this to people? Greed, Detective Alvarez said simply. But you stopped them. You fought back, and now we can help the others. 3 days later, I stood outside the nursing home, no longer a prisoner but a witness. News vans lined the street, reporters shouting questions. The story had broken that morning. Local nursing home involved in guardianship fraud scheme. Detective Alvarez stood beside me, one hand on my shoulder. Are you ready? I nodded. They'd asked me to make a statement, to tell my story publicly, to help other victims come forward. The cameras focused on me as I stepped up to the microphone. I'd rehearsed what to say, but now that the moment was here, different words came. My name is Mara Winters, I began, my voice steady. 3 days ago, my husband and mother-in-law tried to have me declared mentally incompetent so they could steal my house. They forged medical documents, bribed staff members, and planned to lock me away forever. The reporters leaned in, cameras flashing, but I didn't let them. With the help of a brave nurse named Ria, I gathered evidence. I proved the truth. And now the people who tried to throw me away are facing justice instead. I paused, looking at the building behind me. I'm speaking out today because I know I'm not alone. There are other victims, people who couldn't fight back, who didn't have someone like Ria to help them. If you're watching this, if someone is trying to take your freedom, your home, your life, you are not powerless. Fight back. Tell someone. Don't let them win. My voice grew stronger. To anyone who thinks they can prey on elderly people, exploit our trust, steal from us, we are not weak. We are not disposable. And we will not be silent. The crowd erupted with questions, but Detective Alvarez guided me away. Ria was waiting by a car, smiling broadly. You did it, she said, hugging me tight. We did it, I corrected. As we drove away from Riverside Extended Care Facility for the last time, I looked back at the gray building. The sign was already being taken down, the business shut down pending investigation. I thought about Daniel, sitting in a cell, facing fraud charges. About Evelyn, her schemes unraveled, her reputation destroyed. Part of me felt sad for the life we'd had, the years we'd shared, but mostly, I felt free. Where to? Ria asked. She'd offered to drive me home, to help me figure out next steps. Home, I said firmly. My home. The house was exactly as I'd left it, but it felt different now. Empty, but mine. Truly mine. I stood in the doorway, breathing in the familiar smell of old books and lavender. This was what they'd wanted to take from me. This small, precious piece of independence. They'd tried to throw me away. They'd tried to make me disappear, to erase my voice, my agency, my very self. Instead, I'd thrown the truth in their faces, and I was still standing.